Welcome to this week's Black, Red, and Blue fancast. I'm AJ, and this is my co-host, Big Daddy Steve. Oh, wait, that's his Reddit handle.
All right, you can find us at BRB Fancast on Twitter, YouTube, Spotify. You're going to be listening or watching one of those here, so you can find us there. You can find us on the St. Louis City SC subreddit. I am Big Daddy Teacher, and I'm
Steve, Karate 134.
Karate 134. There we go. So we are pretty active there on the sub, and we decided to start. AJ reached out and we started this podcast for fans of City. We discussed there's so many different options for analytical discussion that you could go out and listen to all those. And what we are is just like a couple guys sitting around a bar, sitting around a campfire, sitting around just chatting about what we saw and what our reactions are. And that's kind of cool because if you've listened to the last couple, I run pretty hot. I have a lot of emotions and a lot of thoughts, and it's not so much buried in analytics. I love analytics, but this is not what I am in for. So this is a really cool way to just chat about the match. So
yeah, you sent me a message yesterday. I believe it was after game, talking about the post-game conference with Cornell and Berkey, and you mentioned it again pre-production. What was your thoughts on what they said?
Yeah. So what I read it, but hearing it was a different thing altogether. When the post game started, basically Cornell came out and just immediately said that he was sorry for the match, that fans pay to see a good product, and St. Louis City is known for putting out a good product, and they just didn't get that last night. And then Berkey came out and said also that he talked with the referee that he's never seen a team waste as much time as DC did. And the referee looked at him and said, "What do you want me to do?" And Berkey said, "You've got 2 cards in your pocket. How about you start there?
Do your damn job."
Yeah. And basically Cornell was saying that like the first half of the game seemed to be pretty good. The press was there, the speed was there, shots were there, chances were there. And then the second half of the game, DC was just content with wasting time. And one podcast that I listened to today brought up that clearly DC had the feeling that since MLS is not going to enforce the new rule where if you waste more than 10 seconds, you're gone off the field for at least 10 seconds, they were wasting that time. The goalie, I think at one point Berkey had mentioned that he thought the goalie must have broken his leg because it was taking so long for him to kick the damn ball. And then he kicked it clear to the other end, almost a Berkey. Like that second half was just ridiculous. It took forever. And don't even get me started on the 10 extra minutes of time added on. That was bonkers. And then the referees they lost complete control of that match. Apparently the only referee that's a real referee was the VAR guy.
Right.
And the rest of them are these scabs. And let's go ahead and just call them that. Like, I'm a union guy. These guys are scabs. And I didn't learn until recently that I didn't realize until recently that this is a lockout, that the referees aren't on strike, that they are being locked out because they're not wanting to come in. Pro isn't allowing them in, and they're bringing in these cats. And I know the MLS doesn't want people talking about the replacement refs. I know you want to focus on the game. And this was a really interesting game. The numbers are really interesting. How much possession we had, how many good passes we had. We had like 15 shots on goal. We had several good shots, several awesome opportunities, all these cool little intricate details. But the one thing that comes out at the end of the match, what did you hear when the final whistle was blown? Boos.
Pay the refs.
Boos. It was just deafening. Like, it was a good match, but it was just so frustrating. Either the boos are directed at the refs or directed at DC. But
no, they were actually saying pay the refs. That's what the fans were chanting.
You showed me that red call that was definitely not a red card in the Columbus match, that these guys had no business. And I think if we go back to one of our first episodes, we mentioned that at that time, the refs weren't doing a horrible job. because I think the players weren't used to them yet. But now the players have figured out across the entire league, the players have figured out these jokers can't do their job, and you see the players are putting pressure on these refs, and you see that there's no respect out there for them. And I feel a little bad for these guys because they are out there trying to do a job. They're not doing it well, but out there trying to do a job, and they can't because these players are just pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. What do you think?
But it's like any other like player, right? Like there's different levels. Unfortunately, we're getting some refs. I believe last week's was a college ref, right? So he's not used to players of this speed. They're not used to players of this quality, right? Like that takes time to build up. It's nuts because, yeah, we mentioned about the red card that shouldn't happen. I would highly recommend going to the MLS subreddit if you haven't seen it, because you would be like, okay, is that even a foul? Maybe a foul. Definitely not a yellow card. Definitely not a red card, right?
No.
That's how big of a joke it was. You also mentioned about the stoppage time, right, where we had 10 minutes.
Oh my
I think there
God.
was another game that had like 15, 18 minutes added on, something like ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
this is almost becoming a joke, right? Like you said, MLS doesn't want to talk about this. They would rather talk about Miami, Messi. That's a whole different topic. And just like actual soccer. But instead, they're almost making a mockery of their products, to be honest.
Yeah.
At some point, enough's enough. And I think they were supposed to vote this weekend. Now, obviously, if I'm the refs, I'd be looking at this weekend and I'd be using this as ammunition.
Yeah.
Probably vote against whatever they were going to agree on. But it's a joke. And honestly, it's making these games, how can I put it, almost like an asterisk, because I don't know like what happened in the Columbus game, who ended up winning offhand, but how many games so far this year should have went the other way? Like how many points are going to have asterisks on there because the quote unquote the refs won the game or whatever, right? Now, that obviously doesn't excuse bad play. A lot of people are going to bring up, well, our team should be playing better. I agree, right? But still, you have to have a good quality product, and unfortunately, that starts with the refs.
I remember when we did the Champions League, those were like Champions League refs. And I remember that was a solid game. So you can see professional level referees very early on in the season. And you had the Houston goalie, he held the ball for it didn't seem very bad, but he got a yellow card for wasting time.
Oh yeah.
He got a yellow card for wasting. That would have been like 8 yellow cards last night. Like that's how ridiculous this was, where you can't even begin to pretend that it wasn't an absolute joke. With how the games are being called, and it's all over. I remember seeing last week players like rushing the refs at the end of these games because they just are frustrated. They're just frustrated.
Another thing that's been coming up a lot this weekend on Reddit and Facebook and all that is Clausen Adderin.
Yes. Oh my goodness, yes.
I have a lot of feelings about this, but I'll let you kind of start, because I actually, like a little mini preview, I actually have what I would call my fantasy lineup. Like if I was a coach, how I would actually put out the lineup. But
yeah, and it's not just on Reddit too. Like other people are mentioning that these two really cannot. They take up the same space, where Klaus is almost like sitting back for Adeniran instead of like taking a shot. Like he's turning into a different player than what he is. And we saw it last night when Sam went off for a sub. Klaus kind of was able to shine a little bit. And
yes, Champagne 413 on Reddit had said that after Sam was taken out, Klaus played a lot more centrally with runners either side of him. That's what he's best at. He's a connector who organizes the press and makes kind of delayed runs. He's not really a wide player. The issue is that Sam likes the same spaces, and they don't really complement each other. Now, Champagne 413 said that he feels like it can work with Klaus in the middle and Sam wide left in the 4-3-3, but for some reason they keep trying to make this 4-4-2 try to work, and it's just not suiting the personnel.
Yeah, it's Definitely, it's like you're just trying to run out these standard 4-4-2 kind of lineup, but with these two guys, it's just not working out. And you know, I'm hoping that if we get Leuven back or we get Parker back, they can move some guys around and we can. I mean, it's almost like we're almost like we're sick with the talent where we've got these two big guys that are able to do the exact same thing, and we want to put them both out there because they're both fantastic, but we just got to figure out how they go. And I'm glad I'm not a manager. I have to figure that out. I'm glad I'm a fan that gets to just like sit back and complain about it. But I would not want to have to try to figure that out. But what is your lineup like? I mean,
Yeah,
what do you think? You have more of a soccer background than I do, so I want to hear what you think.
but my thing is with Klaus is I think he's actually underrated. Okay, yes, fans are frustrated he's not scoring goals. But the thing is look what happened, right? Like when Thorson actually had a chance at a goal, remember it was Klaus who did that header pass that gave him an opening, right?
Yeah,
Now, my complaint with the Dinnerin is he's got an amazing foot, right? Like he's great at scoring, but he knows one thing, and that's shoot. There
yeah,
was actually a shot that he took on goal that had he passed it slightly to the left, okay, to Klaus. Klaus was wide open when Adinarin was basically double teamed, you know. So that's something I want you guys to keep in mind too. Is it's not just the shooting ability, but it's also that I think when you look at aerial battles, Klaus wins the majority of them. Watch him settle the ball. Right, he does an amazing job at settling the ball, which is why it's nice if he was in the box and actually receiving crosses he could actually have a chance of settling the ball and hopefully scoring. So, without further ado, here's one potential formation suggestion, right? Now, in my opinion, the back line stays the same here. Totland, right? Parker, Nilsson, and then left back. I'm kind of on toss up right now between Dewar and then also Mechanic, sorry.
yeah.
It's kind of a battle there. We can come back to that. Now, assuming everybody's healthy here, I would put Durkin and Bloom as in the 4-2-3-1. So those are your two defensive midfielders. That would be awesome. Now, the thing is look back to last year when Leuven was actually playing as a true number 10, we were scoring more goals. We were much more of a threat. So with the 4-2-3-1, I would put Leuven in the middle, and then I would flank him with Celio and either Vasilev or Alm, depending who your preference is, and then put Klaus up top. Make Klaus go on those runs, put him in the box, and let Celio feed him all day. Like, this would be killer. Now, I'm not a coach, so I can't tell you what that would do to our press and defense, but man, that back line is pretty good for the MLS, and especially you throw Bloom and Durkin back there. I'm pretty confident, to be honest.
Yeah.
This would be pretty killer. What do you think, Steve?
No, I totally agree. I think it sounds great. As you were discussing, I looked at DC's lineup, and that was a 4-2-3-1 last night as well, with Benteke up top being fed the ball right there at the tip of the spear. And I think that would work well for us if we can manage the press. I mean, at the first half of that game yesterday, DC was able to manage a firm press with that kind of lineup. Everything was flowing through, flowing up to Benteke, and they were able to manage it. Put two in the beginning of the game, so it sounds like it would fit our style at least with the players we have if everyone's healthy. So I was looking at FOTMOB, and you talked about aerial duels, and we won 35 aerial duels last night with 52% of the 52% won last night. So yeah, we're really good with the aerial duels. One thing that seemed frustrating with DC last night was like they never wanted to have the ball. And in fact, they had only 330 passes to our 418. We had 295 accurate passes. I think one thing that I saw was that DC led on long balls because that's all they did last night was pass the long balls. And so, yeah, they had 44 to our 24. We couldn't we couldn't get out there, but like we basically led every meaningful statistic last night. I mean, you go back and look at those shots. I watched the replay this morning, and so many close shots. Sam had one go wide, and there were so many that were just there. And it's like, eventually they're going to go. I saw on Reddit as well that someone commented that the beginning of this season is like season 2 of Ted Lasso, where it's like, are we ever going to win? It's just draw, 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 draw. And it's like, you just need that. One podcast I listened to today mentioned that Klaus getting that goal might be that spark. When Klaus went out last year in one of the matches when Gio asked for the penalty kick over Leuven.
Oh, yeah.
That apparently really aggravated Carnell because that wasn't his job. And he took it and scored, and that kind of set his trajectory up. And, Klaus just looked amazing last night. That stutter, that pause, and just really took Bono out of his rhythm last night. Hopefully we can look back and this is the game that we saw that Klaus really started the scoring barrage that he can do. So
the only thing I would disagree with that though is I don't think that's going to start him as much as a proper lineup and proper strategy, because I don't think we're using Klaus right. Like, definitely, I didn't really pay attention enough for this game, but I know in other games he was playing like this false nine, so not being the guy that was running in the box, making those runs and stuff like that. And then this 2-striker thing with 2 very incompatible strikers, like I think that's what's holding us back. Now, I hope you're right. And that this PK is gonna be the thing that actually sparks him. But I don't know if I have faith in that, to be honest. I feel like they're going to have to figure out something with this situation. Now, maybe they feel pressure that they have to play both these guys, but man, Adeniran is like this amazing super sub, and no player wants to be a super sub, right? Yeah. But when he comes out, like when he comes on, like in the 60th, 65th minute, something like that, he looks so good. He just doesn't look good starting.
Yeah. I mean, it may be that the team is trying to put him out there to get more attention to him, to try to get more bucks for later in the season or something. But that's not helping us if that's the case.
That's a good point.
That's teams that do that, and he may be asking to do that so he can get a bigger transfer as well. But if they're already getting this attention, maybe Lutz is like, you got to get him out there. We gotta get our big man out there so we can get paid a little more for him. But maybe only having one win in the first 5 games will be able to distract away from that, to be able to say, no, we tried it. It's just not working. We're going to go in a different direction. The super sub, because that game where he scored late, that he was a sub, and it just was amazing. And, his legs being fresh out there and his big body, he barrels over people. That's where we want him. We don't need him the whole time taking shots away from another superstar. Our DP, it's big money out there. He always has 1 goal in 5 games.
Isn't this a nice problem? Like, we literally are arguing between 2 great strikers.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, I can imagine there's probably half the teams out there that are probably desperate for just one. And we have 2.
San Jose. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. And then not even that, but Celio is kind of lurking behind too as a potential nice secondary scorer too. I don't know. I think this is a good problem to have. Think about this. So I was looking at the goals. So right now in the Western Conference, we have 8 goals. And as of last night, that would put us tied for second. And there's 3 teams tied for second at 8. And we have a +2 goal differential. But you got to remember, how many goals shouldn't have been goals, right?
Right.
We don't have Bloom out there, Bloom, sorry. And he's a great player. And we don't have Parker out for these past 2 games. I really think this would have been a 2-1 win had we had Parker.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah. Yeah. Well, if that goal that they went down and scored as soon as Yarrow scored, Parker's out there. I don't think he's blowing by Parker. I don't think he's getting by him in order to get that break and then get that goal in. So yeah, I hope
Now,
Parker's back is better.
that's another thing I got to bring up. So on that first goal, right? That Berkey made that amazing save. The ball went
Yeah.
kind of up and kind of fell right in front of the net, and everybody's like, "Well, what were people doing? They were just standing around, et cetera, et cetera." You got to remember when that ball's saved, you don't know where it's going. You don't know it's going to fall right in front of the net.
Right.
I mean, if you watch back, Nilsson's near there, but what was he supposed to do? Teleport? I gave you my lineup. Like, what would you do different with this team?
Yeah. So I don't really have a ton of experience setting up lineups. I mean, yours sounds great. I mean, I don't know exactly what needs to be done, but something definitely different. I do like the thought of having that 4-2-3-1. And we ran the diamond out last year with Geo in the top. I I severely think that should be what we do differently. And just because, yeah, these two giant men that both want to shoot are taking up the exact same space. You got to give one of them some breathing space. It might as well be the man that we're paying all the money to. It might as well be the pretty much the face of the team. Every time you think of St. Louis, you think of Klaus, you think of Lubin, you think of Berkey. Like Sam's cool, but right now he's not our big money. And let's get that big man out there running around scoring some goals. That's to me that would be important. I'm I like the lineups that we have. I like Durkin. I like Todd out there. I like Dyer. These players are amazing, and it's just getting over this hump. Now we got to go to RSL next week, and hopefully it won't snow 18 feet again, and we'll have a good match out there. So yeah, I mean that's basically it's like I do like the idea of maybe Sam being at top, and having that option there. I think that'll be good.
I feel like we're going to get hate mail on this because, like, Sam versus Klaus is kind of like Democrats versus Republicans. I feel like this is going to be a touchy subject for some
Well,
people.
let's hope. I would love to hear some dialogue on this.
Yeah.
Because I mean they both amazing. Sam's great,
So,
but we haven't won. We've won one game, and who are we going to win? Are we going to win with Sam? Are we going to win with Klaus? Like who was here last year? Who's done it? Who knows the rhythm of the team? Who's had more time with this system? That's what we need to think about. And if Klaus is it, which I think he is, then let's run it. It's all
so
about winning, baby.
I'm going to throw out one other lineup and see what you think. So, just a 4-3-3, right? So the 4-3-3, the midfielders, you're going to have a little less because you're only going to have one central midfielder, right? What do you think about Sam in the middle and Klaus and Celio actually on the wings? And now, I wouldn't put Klaus as the main striker in this scenario because if Adeniran is on the wings, he would have to pass. And I don't think he's as strong of a passer as Klaus. And I don't think he passes.
No, and I think back at him. Sam accepts the ball very well and can manage it very well down there in the striker box. And I think having Sam out there being that one is going to help. I do think that having him back probably won't be as effective as kind of going forward with him. Yeah, I like your 4-2-3-1, but I think it'd be more effective, especially probably for the press for what we do. Will probably be more effective for that. Maybe yeah. See, I'm going to be doing more research now about like lineups and how they work and all this jazz. I do think getting into nuts and bolts would be a little cool, a little more, but no, let's throw that 4-2-3-1 out there. See what happens.
I loved it. Oh, well, any closing thoughts before we head out?
Yeah. So earlier we were discussing top 5 our favorite players for City currently. So my top 5, and these are in no order, so don't come kill me, anyone. So like we now have just a little bit of time with the team, and in no particular order, again, my top 5 for the team currently is this is going to shock no one: Berkey, Parker, Celio, Durkin, and Leuven. I know I left my man out, left Klaus out there, but I like those players. I saw in Durkin last night just was playing that Stroud role where he was an aggravator. He was out there just agitating people, but he wasn't a clown like Stroud is. He was able to pick it up. You know, Celio is amazing, and it might be a little personal for me because I mentioned before that he was part of the city team where they came out and they did stuff with the kids. He's so fierce out there running around, and he can take it from anyone. And of course, Leuven doing what he does right. You can see Parker. Us missing Parker right now is his presence out there is just so needed. So that was my 5. What are your 5? What are your 5 favorite players on this team?
Yeah, and specifically, it's if we missed one of these players, how much would it impact our team? I think everybody's got to put Berkey on there. Come on, like how many games has he himself won, right? Like in baseball, they have WAR, right? Wins above replacement player. Berkey's got to be by far the highest one out there, easily, right? Now, the other one is, and I don't think Parker gets enough love, but Parker would probably be my number 2 guy on there. And then my number 3 is actually Leuven. And specifically Leuven in that number 10 role that I keep harping about, because he arguably is the best passer on the team. He's the one that seems to read the field the best. Actually, Klaus, I think, is probably our second best passer, to be honest. For 4 and 5, I'm kind of back and forth whether to put Bloom or Klaus in there. But that's who would be my 4 and 5 here.
Sure. Yeah.
And Durkin, just as an honorable mention, I don't know. I just like this cat a lot. I'm kind of putting him as my number 6, actually.
Sure. Yeah. That was a good solid list.
Yeah, I'd be actually really interested in anybody listening. Please comment on like YouTube or shoot us a message or something. I would love to hear what everybody else's thoughts are.
Oh yeah. Let's get some communication going. Let's perseverate a little bit. Let's jam, as the kids say. It'd be wild. Hear some responses.
Yeah. Well, I think it's that time, my friend.
I think it's time. We gotta sign off a little bit. I got this flag last night for $7. Guys go out and support the supporters groups. I love the St. Louis, and we're out there all the time with them. So go out there and buy some swag. It's good stuff. One of my classroom assistants made this sign behind me. My son's got a flag hanging in his bedroom, and I picked that up last night. $7. I couldn't believe it. It's incredible.
I actually like that behind you.
It's pretty dope.
As anybody that's listening, kind of one of our goals for the podcast is actually have fans join on as guests. We kind of give a different voice, and then also make it a little bit more communal. Get some different opinions in here and all that. So if you're interested, just feel free to shoot us a message. We're both extremely active on the city subreddit. And of course, you can find us on Twitter, BRB Fancast, or you can even catch us on YouTube.
Yeah. So let's make it a group thing. Come on over. We can discuss. We love to hear some different thoughts, and you guys, please come on. That'll be so dope. It'd be cool. We need friends in here. It's quiet in here. Help us out.
All right. Well, until next time, guys. Go City.
Go City.